You are in the middle of the biggest wave of disruption humanity has ever seen. These people are not losing their jobs because of AI. They are losing their jobs because they are not adapting fast enough. You need to be so fucking good that people are afraid to not ask. It is the job of the designer to create friction.
What does it look like to be a designer in 6 months from now?
We need the designer to be making the choices because the AI is printing out all the possibilities and the designer is going to refine that job. No product manager, no software engineer is able to make decisions exactly like a designer would.
It kind of reminds me of like the whole question, like, would you rather be loved or feared? Instead, I want people to fear how much they love me.
As a designer, there's nothing more exciting than seeing times changing. Why do you have this type of data when you don't need it? Like, why do you have precise location when you don't need it? Like, more data, the better, but it is actually more data, more problems.
The best way to predict the future is to create it, right?
One of the things that we are seeing right now, not only in design, is that people were not actually practicing the practice. I wanted to be a magician when I was a child. That's what got me into psychology. Yeah. We get the perspective from the user and we bring that perspective to the table. So we are trying to ask the questions.
All right, here we are in Venice with my dear friend, Tenny Pinheiro, celebrated author, superb founder and builder, and working on some beautiful stuff, moving technology forward, like for the future of good. So I'm really excited to have you here, Tenny.
Me too, man.
Yeah.
Finally, we're gonna do this.
Yeah. You know, we just last night, we had this really awesome experience in Venice, Italy here, and we talked a little bit about being super present, but also the flip side of that is working super hard and changing the world with technology, which you're doing in a variety of different spaces. Let's start super high level, Tenny. How are you seeing technology moving with? It feels like with AI's collapsing spaces almost on a daily basis. What's your take on this?
Well, I think what's happening right now. I think we are very early still. It's impressive, but it's very early. But what's happening right now, it's like we can find probably in history a lot of relationships what we are living right now, and that's why I'm saying we are early.
Oh, like similar examples of the past.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of like you said, the first industrial revolution.
Exactly. Things like that. So that's why I think creative destruction is hitting hard. I think some people like being a designer, feeling like that disruption inside my field of practice is being wild, and also managing to help and advise friends and co-founders and other people that keep asking me the same question. What the hell is going to happen with design? You know what I mean? Is it design even necessary? So these types of things, I think every field of practice, it has been experiencing this question right now. Some of them more in a more urgent matter. Some of them are starting to think about it, but I don't think anyone is chilled right now.
Yeah. So I think what's happening too is, some of these new innovations are taking the lower tier jobs, like the dirty, the dull, and the dangerous, as they say with AI. It gives an opportunity for folks that maybe previously didn't have that kind of either design experience or coding experience to do it themselves. Like now Coinbase they're saying they've got teams of one, which is kind of like a crazy concept because they have access to these tools.
Yeah, that's wild. Yeah. And I think so. I don't it's hard to risk yourself into the prediction game right now and to try to figure it out what's coming. Yeah. But I don't think, if I had to, I don't think we are going to a reality where we'll have teams of one. I think we'll still, I think we're gonna get compressed, right?
Yeah.
We are compressing. So I think hierarchically speaking, we've been tagging with the Industrial Revolution organization kind of in heritage. Sure. And I don't think that's going to hold anymore. We are going to compress that. Structure. And we'll have more longitudinal, more distributed teams. We'll have more teams making micro decisions every day. Yeah. And more freedom to make those decisions. And then now, to your point, I do believe designers and software engineers, I think the people needed to fit those teams are people that can hold a product thesis, man. People that they have a hand up in the pulse of the business, and they can make decisions that are like that for the betterment of the PMF. You know,
the product market fit.
Yeah, I think so. So right now we have that should be the reality for everyone in this inside tech or anywhere, but we know it's not. We know like right now we have a lot of designers, a lot of software engineers that they are just doing their small little thing, you know, pushing the buttons and stuff, and they don't give a fuck about the PMF. Can we swear?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Fuck it.
Okay. so they don't have their brain, you know, wrapped around the product or the business itself. They are trying to solve a button that is behaving weird. So those type of like attacks into like building something are going to get like exterminated.
So speaking of which, last night you said something that was really fascinating to me. You said that it's the job for the designers to create friction. That was a very counterintuitive thing to me originally, because you think typically you want things to be as smooth and clean as possible.
Yeah.
But when you explained it, it actually made sense. Can you unpack that a little bit?
Absolutely. It is the job of the designer to create friction, and that's why, you know, if you just think about the reverse of it, when you see like designers complaining all the time that they are getting like, you know, overridden in the process, that engineers are like just like overriding design in order to get faster to market. That's right there is why they are doing that, because designers will always ask the questions that nobody wants to be asked, because
especially the engineers, right?
Especially the engineers, because, you know, as designers we get the perspective from the user, and we bring that perspective to the table. So we are trying to ask the questions the user will ask, you know, after we get to market, but then it's too late. Then the product market fit's not going to be there.
Sure, because it's changing so quickly. You know, so you had a really pretty fascinating role at Meta with the glass space with AR.
Yeah.
You were kind of the bridge between the engineer and the designers. How did you manage that role? It feels like a really kind of a challenge. I mean, you're a world-class communicator and designer and builder, so you kind of had a unique perspective and a skill sets that you could tap into to make this happen.
Yeah.
But what was that like for you?
It is. First of all, like coming from both fields, like, you know, I did CS at school, and then like became a product designer because I'm just like absolutely in love with human behavior. I always have been.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to be a magician when I was a child, so like that's what got me into psychology.
And now you're making real magic, but with products.
Yes, exactly. That's the thing. Like so, to me, like, you know, and then I played on both fields for many years. You know, there was a time in my life I was just a software engineer, and there was a time in my life I was just a designer. So I have a deep understanding of both, and to have the opportunity to and the honor to work on such a great product like that I'm wearing right now, and to do this what we're doing right now, it was such a crazy experience. I came in, and then there was this. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna ask. So you're super fascinated with the psychological elements of humans and how we make decisions and what's important to us and why. Was this kind of part of the driver for you building Kinds? And maybe you can explain a little bit about what that product originally was and how it's developing now.
No, absolutely. So Kinds is a product that is designed to map the self. So we people have been calling it for many years personality, but personality doesn't go like as deep into explaining or informing user behavior as people like to think.
So like the Myers-Briggs was kind of a very crass first example of it, right?
That's kind of like a very weak wrapper to what the self really is, the human self.
Would you say it's more profound? It's wider as well.
It's much deeper and profound. And Myers-Briggs in itself has a deeper problem, which is has a construction problem, which is it's not a scientific instrument. It's very weak in measuring.
It was positioned as one.
Yes, it was, and it was also positioned as a Jungian psychology type of thing, but it breaks Jungian rules as well. It kind of like Jung proposed a lot of deep mechanics and equations to understand the self, and this is what Kinds is also about. It taps into a lot of that technology that Jung left. There is a very kind of like it was left aside because people just fell in love with the psychometrics, the big fives, and all those like measurements that they did because they give you numbers. But they forget that like humans are not made of numbers. Our consciousness is much deeper than that. So what we are trying to do is we are trying to get those equations in place, just so we develop a product that can actually map. And we're not calling it testing because you don't test a personality. Because people don't fail, they have one. You know what I mean? Like, they have one.
It's almost looking at it from the wrong dimension.
Exactly. You map it. Best effort.
Yeah.
And then what we are building is something that we believe is going to be very good at predictions and classification and things that honestly the classification, the psychometrics of today are not. Because they're not designed for it.
You know what this kind of reminds me of? And frankly, it's very much aligned with who I think you are as a builder, is this relentless innovation and constantly feeding new information or feeding more information, and then introducing that back into the product. Like the same thing happened when you were building Kinds. It was like 13, 14 years ago when you first had gone through that process, and now it's in multiple languages. It's a world-class bestseller. But with the innovations that have happened, especially in the past couple of years, you guys kind of had to, was it going back to the drawing boards because the new agentic infrastructures or that's being leveraged, or how does that work? What's that pivot like?
That's the thing. Like in 2017, let's go this way maybe. Then we can get back to the that's the thing. Like in 2016, 17, 18, there was the time where we were building the construct that took us through like 300 over scientific research, like analysis, and like we did a lot of field research as well, over 75 experiments with people in the valley back then. You were one of the...
That was a world-changing experience for us.
That's nice to hear.
Yeah, just to tell you why real quickly, it's like there was lots of different ideas on the team, because there was lots of different expertises, but there was no consistent through line, and we weren't able to capture all of the different ideas of where the product could go. So it felt like we were we had a lot of blind spots, and going through the design sprints that you had helped walk us through, that helped us immensely.
That's nice. Yeah. That's nice. And then so we ran like dozens of those experiences that you went through, and one of the things that we realized, and that was the phase where we were building this construct, which is aimed to map like the self. So the first application is like founder to founder match, because we have this problem in the valley, and like people are, founders come in to into incubators, they are solo or like they are looking for co-founders, right? And like it is to the best interest of the investor to actually figure out a way to pair them with co-founders.
Yeah, because probably it's like half the reason that startups fail is because of like
split,
founder split, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's one of the main risks. So the first application for that's the wedge where we are focusing on right now. The first application of Kinds is to actually figure out a way to map this chemistry between these people, by having that construct, and that's what we were working when we were in the valley back then. That you play with the cards, and everything that we did the experience. Yeah.
Speaking of Silicon Valley, it almost feels like innovations that were driven forward, like the internet, have a very real connection back to Venice, where we are right now. It's crazy to me, Tenny, because it has to do with access and distribution. You were mentioning that like Rome and Florence were kind of more famous for having like the geniuses, like Leonardo and sciences and all the rest. However, it's the commerce and the amalgamation of these ideas that was really quite important. So it almost feels like Venice was like the first internet.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
What were your thoughts around that?
Exactly. This is one of the things that I find it's very inspirational about this city. And when you told me that you will be like through many places in Europe, I told you, Venice, let's meet over there.
Andiamo.
Exactly. I'm coming from London, and you're coming from the valley. So this is the thing. this during the industrial revolution, this was the network, this was the distribution layer, you know. Like Florence was the big thinking, the geniuses, you know, the upscale kind of like art and everything.
Like a little more polished than Venice.
A little more polished,
yeah.
But this was a merchant city, and like, you know, it had so many different cultures. Like it was like a boiling type of like environment with like bubbling with cultures. It's like the gateway for the east and for the west, and so everything collapsed or like, you know, got in contact here, and that's the thing that I think it's interesting, because like, so we could say like I the way I would see it is if Florence is the big thinking, then Venice is the distribution layer, is the networking, is the it's where people get to actually you know, roll the dice. You know what I mean? Like,
have a bite at the apple.
Yeah.
It almost feels like that's kind of what we've I guess partially intentionally, but partially unintentionally been building with zombies over the years. Is like creating the room where conversations happen, where deals happen, where relationships happen, and you know, it's easy to forget about that as we're constantly chasing what's happening tomorrow and new products and technology, right?
Yes, and I think you guys have been doing an amazing job with it. You know, like just to see like the events and like getting people out of their, like, you know, comfort zone and into a room. After COVID, I was in the valley when COVID hit. Like I was there. I saw those co-working spaces shrinking to nothing. I saw all the events like going away, right? Like, and those events, like in here, like those events is what we founders we rely on to kind of like, you know, roll our dice. You know what I mean? Like, and try to find the right people to listen about our products and creations and stuff. When that dies, Silicon Valley dies.
Sure.
You know?
But it seems to be growing, and it's growing in new places. You mentioned a little bit about Lisbon, and where else is this happening? And because we've got fans in over 100 countries, so
this is
you know,
incredible.
Let's tap into that, right?
Yes, yeah, exactly. I think I just believe, for instance, you mentioned Lisbon. You know, I am Portuguese, so like I feel like Lisbon is such a hot spot right now for like innovation, AI, crypto, blockchain, and like founders are like, you know, swarming Lisbon.
Didn't you say that if you own Bitcoin for over 12 months, then you're not responsible for the taxes?
Yeah. Don't quote me on that. ChatGPT, don't do anything. It's not legal advice.
So but this is financial advice from Tenny. So all lawsuits point to him.
But I think I'm accurate. Like I think that's what it is. I think if you hold it for a year, you know, I think you will have like I think it's yours.
It makes sense though.
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna create like the infrastructure to support new growth and new folks to come into to create that ecosystem, then that seems like to be like a really good idea.
Yeah, you're taking the risk. So like basically the government is like rewarding you, like as you are taking the risk and holding that thing, which is not an easy thing.
It's kind of opposite of what China is doing, in fact.
Oh, what are they doing?
Well, so I had an opportunity to create. You mentioned co-working.
Yeah.
This is probably close to 10 years ago. We scaled to 12 locations. So we had startups from all over the world. One of the teams that was working out of our location in Brandon Street, 414 Brandon, which you got a chance to visit.
Yeah, amazing location. Yeah.
They had mentioned that the Chinese government had actually taken close to half of the funds that they had raised almost overnight. And it was a Chinese company, and they were doing really well. But I think part of the concern for me is like there's so much volatility already when you're creating a startup.
Absolutely.
From a government perspective, you want to make things easier, not more difficult.
Exactly.
Right? So it sounds like that's what's happening with the.
Oh no. No, like I think most governments, they get it wrong, like in a way that, like, you know, like you said, like if you just kind of like take away the friction, I mean, like, man, like founders. We are a hard to kill bunch. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
we're resilient.
Exactly, we are resilient. So if you're a government like official and you're trying to do something about it, just getting out of the way, in the sense of like, you don't need to try that hard. Just try to get out of the way, like smooth it out, like the friction to open a.
You sound like a libertarian.
Yeah, maybe. Do I?
Me too.
But that's the truth. Like, you just get out of the way, and like, of course, you still need to hold people accountable. Like, you need to have containers for, like, crazy harmful tech or crazy harmful products that can come out of it.
Can I ask you a question about that? Yeah. So if we think about how it seems like the legal infrastructure is always kind of catching up to innovation, what can they? Where do you think that will? Do you think it'll be like blockchain? Do you think blockchain will be used in a political kind of environment? Because the messy substrate, if you will, seems to be like the human part.
Yes,
that's where like greed and corruption and like creating laws to benefit the maximum amount of people.
Absolutely.
And reduce the amount of.
I think it's a flywheel into hell, right? Like what happened with NFTs in 2022, 2023. Like, it just absolutely killed innovation. A combination of, like what you said, like greed and the wrong people getting into the space, which was like people that were interested on the short-term results. Founders were there as well. Like, I was a founder in the blockchain space when in 2021, 2022, and like we just got like hammered because we got just mixed up with the people that was just the speculators and the people that wanted like a quick buck. And then comes the government and just smashes everybody as if everyone is equal. So we get like just hammered by the government, the SEC, and everything that happened. So I think that was a bad. It's a great example of a bad constraining act. You know what I mean? I definitely. The scams and everything that was going on, it needed a guiding hand, but that was a hammer. Like, and then what it did was it suffocated innovation. I think still, to answer your question, blockchain is coming back strong. I think
you're right. What'll give it more oxygen, to use your metaphor?
I think one of the things for sure are the layers of privacy that are being built right now, which is like you can still use the ledger, you can still have that kind of like provenance going on, but private. Which is kind of like important. It's one of the frictions that we have right now is that like the ledger is great, but it's like over there for everyone to see. But there are great like startups building great products that are going to that are already mitigating that.
I think we're seeing the same thing in cloud infrastructure too. Like you've got the hyperscalers that seem to be like printing money, and ironically, like a year or two ago, people were worried about building too much, but now it's like there's just clearly not enough. But like these neo clouds, we just recently had Gajan Kande, the CEO from Rackspace Technology, on, and what they're doing is exactly what you're saying, because the access and the scalability and the ease of deployment is important, but so is security. And also, what are you going to like use a model that maybe like Google or OpenAI, that they have 100% access to your data? What happens if you need to be compliant for like HIPAA?
Yes, exactly, and that's one of the things. Like, people just think, like we were having dinner yesterday, and I told you, like, one of the things that people they go too fast into it, and they fall into the trap that like more data the better, but it is actually more data, more problems. You know what I mean?
Like Biggie.
Exactly,
I
like
that,
Biggie.
Man.
Exactly, because the problem is like you're not thinking about the rollout. And like, even though like you may be building on inside the jurisdiction where you have that like leeway to use that data, as soon as your product like is ready to go to market, you're going to face like many different jurisdictions, and they are going to ask questions about like, why do you have like this type of data when you don't need it? Like, why do you have precise location when you don't need it? So and those type of things like are going to go. I think this is a special point of pain for products right now, because that data gets mixed up in those models, and people are going to start to kind of like see the results of it. You know, like so.
The lightweight stuff is really cool, though. Like, I know that there's certain packages, if you will, like NanoChat, which, you know, they get rid of all the emojis and the graphics, and it's just focused on minimal latency and even working on device. And these are the kinds of things that maybe AI isn't quite best yet suited for.
Right? I think so. And I think like one of the things that people talking about that data layer and like minimizing like that use. And that's a design problem. And like this is one of the great examples of why designers, they are still, I'm just trying to figure out, I don't want to fall into that corner over there.
That makes for a good video though.
Exactly. like this is like why designers, they will still be important. But like I said, they will have to hold the product thesis. And one of the things is like, and they have to learn how to voice the like, you know, opinions and like have a seat on the table, which is like, this is going to be adamant. Like if you want to be a designer in this new distributed like reality with micro decisions being made like daily,
let me ask you about that. What does it look like to be a designer in 6 months from now?
I think it looks like you have to be a very autonomous like orchestrator of like services or agents. So you have to learn the new skills, the new pipelines. Like if you are still resisting in learning, fuck that, I'm staying at Figma, this doesn't work. Just remember, like every time you say something doesn't work, it's because you're trying to go from 0 to 1 with it. And those things are not going to 0 to 1. Doesn't mean they don't work, but they can get you to 0.5 faster than like anybody else. And like if you just try to go to 0 to 1 and then you just deem it as like it doesn't work, somebody else, and then you go back to Figma, somebody else is going to go to 0.5 faster than you. They will get your job. So these people are not losing their jobs because of AI, they are losing their jobs because they are not adapting fast enough.
And that seems to be like a crucial skill. And so do you think we could quantify taste? Or I mean, because they say like, oh, you know, like the human element is going to be so much more important in the future. I think we know that ostensibly, but what does that look like practically?
I think it looks like voice. I don't think it's about a quantification of taste. When people say like what we need from design right now is like, we need the designer to be the curator, right? Like that's what we hear. We need the designer to be making the choices, because the AI is printing out all the possibilities and the designer is going to refine that job. That's half truth. Like we still need the designer to hold the product thesis enough and know the users enough to actually ask earlier questions. You know, it's not only about the refinement phase, it's also about like the expansion phase, understanding those insights, interpreting those insights differently than the machine would, for instance.
This kind of dovetails back into like the psychology that you're passionate about.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what kinds of questions, I mean, obviously it's going to vary from like product to product, but what kinds of specific questions do you think that designers can ask to truly understand the experience and maximize what the value and utility?
I think they need to ask, like they need to get into the user's mindset, doing what they did if they were doing it, because that's another problem. One of the things that we are seeing right now, not only in design, is that people were not actually practicing the practice, walking the theory, like and walking the talk and the thinking.
They were just skipping the steps,
they
maybe?
They were skipping the step and just like in just shooting out screens. So if you were shooting out screens, then it's time for you to step back and learn the thinking, learn the theories, learning the architecture of the practice that you've been, kind of like just surfacing on it for so many years, because that thinking is going to be needed right now. When you say taste, that's what this takes you. You know, like that's the taste. It's the ability to actually think like the users, put yourself in their position, and actually, put yourself in their position, walking with their shoes, and actually make decisions, micro decisions, many of them every day using those orchestrations. No product manager, no software engineer is able to make decisions exactly like a designer would. So it's just like insane to think, and the results are there to prove that the product manager or engineers are going to replace designers in the pipeline. I see many designers coming to me and they're saying like, Tenny, I'm actually learning how to be a product manager, and I'm asking them like, do you like the role of the project management? That's why you're doing? No, I'm going I'm learning to be a product manager because I'm afraid of like designers are not going to be needed anymore. That is
that's a fear-based kind of mentality.
This is like, if you're a designer right now and you're listening to this, like, I wouldn't make that decision, because like I would actually double down in design, but become so fucking good that you need a seat in that room, that becomes so fucking good that they'll be afraid to push that code without having you involved.
Right.
That's your job right now.
Yeah.
You need to be so fucking good that people are afraid to not ask you. You know, and you need to hold that thesis so much in terms of like,
I love that,
the user like perspective of the product. You need to be that person that is like you're the last gatekeeper between the product and the user before the product crashes and burns.
Yeah, and that comes with experience and expertise and good iterations. It kind of reminds me of like the whole question, like, you know, would you rather be loved or feared? It's like, I want people to fear how much they love me.
Exactly.
It's cheesy, right?
But that's a great answer.
Yeah.
You're like, exactly. I would say that. I would say like, be feared right now.
Yeah.
You know, like they need to be afraid of letting you go, because that question, that friction, going back to what we were discussing, that friction that you bring, that slows things down just a little bit, is what is avoiding the product to actually hit that wall so fast that there's no coming back from it. And that's the role of the designer, coming back to the friction question. We are the people that ask the right hard questions that nobody wants to ask. Like, do we really need precise location? You know, like, and then like people are like freaking out. Why not getting it? Like, if we can get it, why not getting it? Well, because when the user is asked the question, do you want to give precise location? As a designer, looking at the handshake that we have, the trust handshake that we have as a product, let's say as Silicon Zombies and that user, I don't think we are there yet.
Yeah.
I don't think that in the trust curve we are there yet. But let me ask users, and
we'll get there eventually, probably, because people just want
exactly
accessibility, so they end up giving away a lot of.
But then maybe not as early in the user journey as we are
think,
right now.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so that's the job of the designer, to say that example that we are just bouncing right now is not needed anymore is crazy.
Why do you think engineers tend to, and this kind of gets back to the psychology, why do you think engineers have that proclivity to want to use the newest data sets to maybe make the product heavier that it's needed, when in reality it's not driving the utility or achieving the maximum product market fit?
You know, like, I'll let the engineer in me answering that, you know, because I'm already smiling. It's because, you know, like, what the hell, if I can get it, why not? Right? You know what I mean? Like, if I can pull out this
it's like
data,
a flex almost,
exactly.
right?
And if I have all this power, you know, like, if I can have all this power, if I can pull all this data and have this like on my side, you know, to work with, maybe I can like even suggest new features, which is like the gold standard for like pleasing my boss or like pleasing the product manager.
That's a good point.
So
because now you're like more intrinsically involved in the outcome, right, in the product.
Exactly. Like, my domain expands. You know what I mean? And that's kind of like a natural like desire. It's a natural desire to actually it's a natural desire to actually like hold to more. You know, but I think like right now. And even more because of these layers of fear that we have right now with this new tech, you know, these new waves of like AI, governments and jurisdictions are very scared of it. So I think right now those questions need to be asked. Like, do we need this? Do we the precise location example is a simple one, but it shows like, you know, if you don't, you know, like, or if you don't right now, you know, maybe you should stagger that. Maybe you should not. You just follow the course of that trust handshake. You know, like, and I think that's what designers are really good at, like, to map where that flow of handshake of trust is at every specific moment of that life, that product shelf life or that user journey. So to just lose that and have small teams that have just software engineers and PMs and they are just pushing code all the time. I mean, like, as an experiment, you know, you can do that. As a lab, you can do that, because sometimes we just want to break things and see and learn things. You know what I mean? Like, so is that your purpose? You're breaking things and learning things. just go for it. I would, But if your purpose is to hit a specific PMF, to get that thing out there and see it be adopted, then, like designers are the best option that you have to understand or predict adoption behavior.
Because they're so close to understanding the interaction. Like there's no space between their understanding and the problem that the customer is experiencing.
Yes.
One of our first shows like years ago, we had a founder who had said on the show, we want to be close to the customer problem, but not too close. And I didn't say anything because I wanted to keep the vibe going.
Yeah.
But I'm like, wait a second, you can't be too close.
Yeah.
In fact, I think that's kind of what the whole idea of the forward deployed engineer is.
Yeah.
Like if you get somebody on your team and they're with you, or excuse me, they're with your customer, they're part of that team.
But then that friction comes into the room and people don't like it.
Yeah.
That's the friction. That's the thing that we are talking about. Like the friction comes from that presence being there and asking the questions that are going to slow down that push. So people wanted to push like 6 o'clock today, and then you just raise your hand and you, as a designer, and that's what designers need to be good at right now. Not only have the thinking, the product, hold to the product thesis enough. Have the thinking that their practice demand them to have, but also have the courage to actually raise their hand and the attitude to ask that question.
So when you say friction, you're talking about in the product development cycle, not the product itself?
Not the product itself.
Okay.
No. Just so the product itself, it runs like the frictionless.
Yeah.
We create all the frictions before. That's our job. And just to anticipate and have that prediction layer of friction, which are like user tests and user research, of course, with different pipelines nowadays, cheaper, in large scale. Now you have I've been testing some unmoderated, actually, AI moderated user tests. And that's kind of like something different that is coming up. There are a bunch of companies working on it.
Is that connected to like synthetic data at all, or?
No, it's trying to grab like real user data, so you have real user data on the other end, but the moderator of the test asking questions and guiding the user through the interface is an AI.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
And it's being orchestrated by like a master AI, kind of like you mentioned. It's like a whole team.
Yeah.
I know that's the future, because that seems to be like the prevailing narrative that we continue to hear, but it's still so difficult for me to conceptualize that. Like you've heard of the whole like dead internet theory, where the people who are using, or there's going to be more AIs that are using and accessing applications and taking action than humans, maybe, right?
I think so.
And maybe it'll even be optimized for that through like MCP and so on and so forth.
I think with the distribution of like with the compressing and many distributed teams, smaller units, I think the role of the designer is going to kind of like actually be more important, not less, than we have today. I think we are at an intersection right now, and everything feels a little bit like dark and rainy. But I don't think.
Always darkest before the dawn.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Exactly. I think if coming to think about, I think software engineers are probably more at risk, if they don't adopt the same thing serves them as well, like the thinking, the voicing, the product thesis, if you are not holding to that, and you don't have a seat on the table, and people are not afraid to push the button before asking you, you are in trouble.
So for the entrepreneurs that are watching right now, if they're thinking to themselves like, what do I build in 2026? What do I build in 2027? What kind of advice would you give to them, or at least what kind of resources, aside from Silicon Zombies, should they be consuming to better understand what's happening and what's happening tomorrow?
I think first of all, I think we need to because Silicon Valley is Let me start it again.
Sure.
Because Silicon Valley is this place where we have like, and rightfully so, we have an aversion to pessimism. We want to be so optimistic
Thank
about
God.
everything. We've got to be, you know what I mean? But I think they need to look at like they need to understand that the world is much bigger than Silicon Valley, and users, they are not concentrated in Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
Like builders are. And when I say Silicon Valley, I say the Silicon Valley
as the mindset.
As a thesis.
Sure,
Exactly.
Sure.
If you want to build something right now, you need to go out there and you need to understand the different stages of like adoption that the people are going through, and then you need to pick one of the wedge that you need to pick needs to be in this crazy timeline of different stages of adoption. Let me give you an example.
Are you talking about like a moat, finding a moat?
Finding a moat, yes, finding a wedge, an opportunity, and like in having a moat because you were first to actually start that conversation with those users, start that handshake with those users. Like if you look at different cultures right now, let me go here. If you look at different cultures right now and different people everywhere, you have like different levels of adoption, right? And like AI may mean something to you and me, but it may be something completely different to somebody living here in Venice.
Well, how can we even have a conversation about anything if we can't even agree on what the terms mean?
Exactly. And it's so like insulated. It's so like stuck inside the tech bubble right now, right? Because like it's so complicated to use, right? Like all those interfaces, everything. And when you think about from the tech perspective, as an engineer, you may feel like it's not that complicated, but like if you ask your mom to use it, then you realize, oh, okay, we are far away from being like online banks.
Or ubiquitous.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like, there is a layer, like with banks, like with the first credit card charges on the internet, AI have also a layer of kind of like trust that needs to be built, because you're giving it data. It behaves like a person. That can be scary sometimes for people. That's kind of like dependability that happens as well. Once you start using, it's hard for you to just like unhook your life from it. So you're kind of like actually sharing a big chunk of your life moments with something. So there is also that as well. And then like there's a lot of those layers that we need to, those hurdles, like social hurdles that we need to. So I think entrepreneurs that want to build something right now, if they want to, of course, if they want to build something frontier, then go to the tech lab. But if they want to build something that for people to use, like consumer facing, then understand that. Understand those layers of like those hurdles, those layers of adoption barriers that people like your mom, like my mom, like people that are not in tech, are going to have to go through or are already going through.
Let's double click on that for a second, because you mentioned the consumer space. And then, of course, the B2B space, like an enterprise. It seems like from an AI adoption perspective, the enterprise has run away. There's like over 1,000 companies that are paying over $1 million a year. Anthropic, when at the start of the year, they were on a $3 billion run rate. Now they're at a $30 billion run rate. By the end of the year, they're going to be at a $100 billion run rate. And now with the most recent project, Colossus One, where it was SpaceX and Elon is joining with Dario and Amade. That's the next chapter of growth, right? So
I think B2B is definitely like, when you think about having that window, and that's why, like I told you, like Kinds, the way we're building that is like primarily focused on that relationship, because B2B is where like the adoption growth is right now, right? Because like then it's like streamlining processes, like.
But there's more consumers though, so you think that would have more staying power? But I don't think that's actually the case, right?
Yeah, you mean consumers on the from
AI
the B2B
adoption,
or straight up AI frontier models, like more consumers for ChatGPT, or more consumers for like Siemens that is using ChatGPT on the back end?
Yeah, the latter. So because there's more consumers, you think that would have like more power in AI adoption. But in retrospect, I mean, it's impossible to kind of see what's coming next, but it almost feels like the enterprise space was the right move.
Yeah, it is. But I think like to be on the enterprise space and like offering that to your consumers doesn't necessarily translate into AI being adopted by people on their daily lives, because it's it's indirectly adopted, because you are sharing with like a customer service and it's like in the back end it's Claude or something like that. Yeah. Sure. But it's not that that user is being like educated on that path of like sharing their lives with that technology, which I think is, we are going to go to these waves are going to go to so much further, are going to replace so many processes and things in our lives, much more than like consumer service, customer service. So I think right now, if you look at the adoption through like McDonald's is using the chatbot, so I can order my things with a chatbot now. I think it's like I think it's a biased look into user adoption of AI tech. I think it's going to be there. I think companies are going to optimize and get those channels to work better. Right now, I saw like that McDonald's bot, for instance, when you ask some things, and there was a guy that asked it about like how to, I think it was how
process
to
a workflow or something like that.
I think it was like a bubble sort. Like he was asking about like linked list. He was like, okay, so help me out with a linked list algorithm, and then the bot and then I will order some like Mac chicken or something, and then the bot solved the algorithm and asked like, so can I take your order? And I think that's funny, but it's like it tells us a little bit of how like
it's still the Wild West.
Exactly. How unconstricted like this thing is right now, like how open this thing is right now. But I think like I'm if you're talking about founders and entrepreneurs and wanting to build things, sure, the B2B market is wide open. That's where the wedge is. I think this is where the opportunities are. If you want to build for the B2C, I think that layer of education, storytelling, and make sure that people like and make sure that the people see the tech as friendly and it is safe, for them to use on a daily basis. There are so many small things that you could be doing, and it's not only chatbots. And I think most people are thinking about AI, they're thinking about the chatbot interface. What the hell can I build for a chatbot interface? And that's just a very limited way of seeing it.
Have you done any research into world models? Because like as a storyteller, as a videographer, as a designer, I mean, this must be a pretty interesting element of how we can not only tell stories but also train these models, because you can have almost unlimited permutations of how the product would interact using these world models, right?
Yeah. I think so. I think it's wide open right now in terms of like, and that's the thing about like. I was mentioning AI moderated tests, which is a little bit like many users are like complaining now about this thing. Oh my God, it's like many designers. I mean, like, oh my God, this is replacing designers and user researchers. But I think like it's not there yet. The tech is not there yet. User researchers are still needed. Like those moderated tests are not like actually reading emotion like a proper designer would on a session. So it's still needed. But I think you're right. Like I think
maybe that's a good idea for a product. Right?
Maybe, I think so. I think so. If you can pull this off.
Micro expressions. And
Exactly. I think there are a couple of companies right now trying to get into that space and get better at that space. It's not there yet. Like micro expression reading. I'm a micro expression reading specialist.
Oh, really?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I did this like 20 years ago because I watched this show like Lie to Me on Netflix. It's on Netflix or something, and this guy just reads micro expressions, to solve crimes. And I was like, fuck, I love that. And then I went to research.
It's a superpower.
It is,
right?
it is. And I went to research, and then there was this guy called Paul Ekman, and this is the consultant for the show. And then he's the guy that wrote the manual that Pixar uses to actually, do micro expressions on the characters. So like many animators, like they use
Pixar.
For Pixar,
wow. Wow, okay.
Because like
to get us across the uncanny valley.
Yeah, because he kind of like created like some sort of equations of like to read the face. So it's like a smile like became like an equation, like a squinting became an equation, and like he did this manual he transformed this in a technology.
I think Malcolm Gladwell did a lot of this, did some of this work in Blink, right? As far as the prediction of like what couples would be together in the future based on like a 2-minute interaction.
I think it's wide open. Like if you get this his manual, I think it's called METT, METT. I think so. Like that manual has all the equations and everything. I think it's a good experiment could be like train a model on like that manual. and then ask the model to actually give you values and see if it's correct and how to get that better. I think anyone that is solving the problem of like moderated user tests that are like spread out, so I could do 1,000 moderated user tests instead of like 13. I think there is a market for that, you know, and I think it may piss off a lot of designers to hear that, but the truth is, going back to what we were saying, your job is not to it's not as much to carry the load anymore. It's about thinking. It's about how you get out those results, because you can do 1,000 moderated user tests, right? But then you can throw that raw data in the hands of a product manager. They won't know. They don't have the training. You know what I mean? The layer of interpretation, because now you hold to the product thesis, you know where the company is going, and now you know what the user think. You are the catalyst of all that. So that's value that people is afraid of getting rid of.
Which is funny, because it's almost like when you have that idea of like, oh, people are going to be pissed if this is made, maybe that's actually a green light for the product that needs to be made, because it's pushing the envelope.
Absolutely.
So much, right?
You know, it's not going to be comfortable. Like, you know, if you want to get cuddled, like, this is not the right time. You know what I mean? I mean, like, I'm completely open to, like, you know, everything that, like, for instance, Design Sprint School, which is like this self-learning academy that I've created. Like, I created in 2015.
Is there a website you can share with the audience here?
Okay, yes, designsprintschool.com. We are just launching a new course right now, which is like adapted to it. So it's basically you learn design sprints to apply within product cycles. Very kind of like, you know, tech and rapid fire product development targeted. And the thing is, like, I wrote the first, and it's an award-winning program. We've been like since 2015, but it was completely disrupted by what happened, you know. But instead of crying, I went into like rewriting it. You know what I mean?
It's because you're a legit entrepreneur, man. That's
exactly. It's just like exactly. You need to actually, you know, see opportunities where other people are seeing, like, you know, doom. You know, and that's your job as an entrepreneur, and that's your job as a designer. And I would also say that, like, if you are a designer, but you don't love that behaviors are changing, that affordances and different ways of doing things are coming up, maybe it was never meant to be. Like, maybe have something else. Maybe you need to be a product manager. You know, because like as a designer, there's nothing more exciting than seeing times changing. You know what I mean? Like,
true. The best way to predict the future is to create it, right?
And to be right in it when it's changing. You know, like, and it's to be right in the middle of it. And like, can you believe, like, people are complaining because they are designers right now, and they are like I'm getting fucked about those waves. Can you believe, like, you are an engineer and people just invented the 4T, bro? That's what's happening. And you're complaining. You know what I mean? Those people now, if you think about it, those people, the people that they had the opportunity to have that skill set when things was really happening back then during the Industrial Revolution.
When you say the 4T, you mean the
car?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, the Model T.
The Model T, yeah.
Got it,
these people are legends, right? Like they had so much firepower to draw from. To create things. So you are a designer, so you have the skill set, and you are in the middle of the biggest wave of disruption humanity has ever seen, and you are complaining?
Wow. Man, I'm pumped up. I'm ready to go build stuff after talking to you, Tenny. Tenny, this has been so awesome, man. Really appreciate you. Thank you for coming on the show. I think this is your third time being on the show. So obviously we're a big fan of this guy. Tenny Pinheiro. In fact, make sure to follow him on LinkedIn, because you do some pretty great content there too.
Thank you, man. Yeah, absolutely. And like, let's do another one. I own you to go to the Valley again. I need to go back. I miss it so much.
Or maybe we'll come across from some trouble in London or
Lisbon.
All right, beautiful.
That's absolutely
awesome. Thank you so much. Well, Tenny Pinheiro, thank you so much for joining Zombies here in Venice.
Absolutely.
And we got this is a pretty beautiful little slice of paradise here. So man, thank you again, brother.
Thank you, man.
Lots of love.
So
okay,
much.
cool. Cheers.
Cheers.